Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Say Report. This is Sejohn Sarek reporting too early in the morning for for duty. And I am here with my host companion, Devin Decker.
I'm Devin Decker, and I've been up for 4 hours. So
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you about this too early stuff.
hmm
Like, I'm ready for lunch.
Is that okay? So I have a question about that. Is like the meal that you eat, is that based on time of day or is that based on how long you have been up?
Well, technically, breakfast is based on whether or not it's the first meal of the day.
Right.
So, like,
Because you were breaking fast. You were literally, yeah, I mean,
yes,
so
nice
if you can't
job,
have breakfast,
entomology, Sejohn.
I'm just saying, I am laying out all of the facts here for us to investigate and study and discuss, and I am saying that that means that possibly you cannot possibly have breakfast after your first meal of the day, right? So like, why can't I get a steak at 7 o'clock in the morning? Is
You
what I'm
can't get a
asking.
steak at 7 o'clock in the morning. What are you talking about?
I
It's
mean,
called
like, if I
steak
want
and
to.
eggs.
No, I
Every
want like
diner.
steak and potatoes. No.
That'd be
See,
fine.
that's the thing. That's the thing. Why does it have to be a breakfast version of the food I want? Why
But
can
it's
it not
not.
be a gigantic
But it's
meal
still a
of the food I
steak.
want?
You understand that it's still a steak.
No,
Calling
steak
it
and eggs is very often not the same as the steak that you get at 7 o'clock at night
well, that's because
with a
the
side of
all right.
vegetables and.
So I understand where you're coming from because most steakhouses don't open until like 3:30 in the afternoon. Like
hmm
it's not like I can go to Smith and Walensky for breakfast. In fact, there's a whole scene in The Devil Wears Prada where she's like, "I'd like my steak now," and she's like, "Well, they don't open until noon, and it's 10:30 in the morning." Oh, that's a good scene. I really like that scene in The Devil Wears Prada. Because she goes and she gets the steak, and then Miranda's like, "What is that? I'm going out for lunch today." Like that is in a movie full of Meryl Streep being a cunt. That is the cuntiest moment to me.
Really? When she's just like, I mean, it's a shitty moment nonetheless. I think some other more important, shittier things
Oh,
happen
I'd
in that
like you.
movie.
Well, so I have on the table what I think the worst moment is. Get me a steak from a place that is not open yet, and then
I'm just
I'm gonna
thinking
like
plot
dismiss it.
wise, there's things that she does that are a little bit more cruel to her, don't you think?
No, I
I mean,
honestly don't. I think that that's the cruelest that she gets, because then after that she proves herself.
hmm,
I can't think of any like that's the cruelest that it becomes, and it is the thing. Like I'm on record, Devin fucking Decker, come fight me, fans of The Devil Wears Prada movie version, not the book. I will make that distinction because it will be important later on in this episode. Not about The Devil Wears Prada, but about adaptations. That's arguably the moment where she is at her lowest, Andy,
hmm.
and then she punches fucking through that and becomes the fucking hero that we need.
So that's what sends her over the edge is
That's
like,
what the send her over the edge moment is. That fucking Smith and Walensky
all
moment.
right, yeah, I'll give it to you. It's the final straw. It is the bridge too far. No, I don't know if
Right.
my
No,
analogies
well, I mean,
fell off.
it's fine. They were fine analogies. They were both proper analogies. Um,
I told
but
you, man, too early.
But I
Oh
feel
God.
like, and that's the thing. But arguably, the thing that pushes someone over the edge, into that sink or swim moment, would have to be the worst thing that they do.
hmm
I mean, she does other rude things in that film, but I don't think any of them are directed towards Andy.
Yeah, see
And
now, no, I don't know if I'm feeling good about myself now after what you just said, because there's definitely been moments in my life where like the final straw for me was something stupid, but it was the final straw. Like somebody forgetting at work to like put my name on something the proper way. Like that's not really the worst thing that's happened, but considering all the other things that have happened, yeah.
So,
Anyway, you're
yeah, but
making me
that's it.
question
But
my own pettiness, is
okay,
what
but
I'm
let's
saying.
talk about your own pettiness in this situation. You're talking about a cumulative final straw moment, right? But
Yes.
that's not what that is for Andy. That's the bridge too far moment, right? Let's analyze the analogies, and it's what pushes her into that sink or swim moment. She's
Hmm.
never going to quit working for Miranda. She is using it as a stepping stone. She will
Right.
take as much shit as possible. But that moment where she is asked to get a steak from a place that is not open, and then it gets pushed into the Harry Potter thing, right? Like that whole day is pretty bad. But that pushes her into this situation where she's like, I'm on the edge, and like I need to either prove myself today or I'm fucking out the door. Like that's what that is. So it's different than what you're talking about, where like cumulative assholeness that like you've been burying and burying and burying finally topples over because they forgot to put your name properly on something. Like it's like all the shit I put up with, you don't even know my fucking name.
I quit this shit. Didn't get my goddamn Hershey's.
Are you serious? Dude, I gotta tell you, we love Hershey's chocolate in America. I have no fucking clue what this episode is about 5 minutes in. We love our fucking Hershey's in America, but it is not the best chocolate.
No, man, Jesus, no, God, no. I've just discovered Dove.
Oh my God, Dove
peanut
bars?
Butter eggs. No, I've always known about Dove bars and I love them, which is why when I found out about Dove peanut butter eggs for Easter, I lost my fucking mind, and they are so good. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't know why the chocolate that we like are willing to put up with in our candy bars is so crappy. You're totally right, though. It's not good. But that's true of a lot of things in America that, like, I don't know how our standards ever got so low for that, for candy, for food in general, cereal, you know, like, even our meat on a regular basis is just not good.
No, you're not wrong at all.
Mm-hmm. And then we wonder why assholes start talking about, like, buying local and, like, talking about going to farms and picking on farmers, trying to figure out exactly what happened to their meat and all that crap. But it's because they've been to other places and they realize how good it can be. That's what it is. You know, as douchebaggy as it seems when we, like, make fun of people, like that Portlandia sketch where they talk about where the chicken came from. Like, it's a great sketch, and screw those people. But also, they're kind of right to, like, ask those kinds of questions.
Well, but so here's
especially
the interesting
the more and more
thing.
we find out about like the food industry and what those people are willing to do to us as customers.
As we boil it down to like even the chocolate in this country could be fucking better. America is built on one simple belief, and that is how can we make it the most amount of money by spending the least amount of money? We are a country of fucking mediocrity. We celebrate it. No wonder our education system is in the fucking toilet right now. Because we don't care as long as somebody's getting rich off it.
And you could blow that up even further. It's not even like most amount of spend. Like what it is how much stuff can come to me with the least amount of stuff coming out of me, right? Like, like you could just take that to like the most logical extreme, and it's just like, in what way can I move the least today and still have the best day possible? Like, that is everybody's goal every day. It's my goal right now. The whole thing in doing this with Skype and everything is I only have to roll out of bed and then go into my studio, and then bam, here we go. I don't have to go far at all for this awesomeness, and this is the best part of my week.
Aw, that's so kind of you to say.
that I don't put any more effort.
I put no effort into the best part of my week.
I mean, yeah. What does that tell you about the rest of my week, really?
Dude, I don't know who I'm most sorry for. The people who you're giving less effort to.
Can I put a capper on this?
Yes, please do.
This wandering intro. My favorite Devil Wears Prada adaptation has to be the pilot for Ugly Betty.
I'm not familiar.
That's the end. That's all. Anybody that's seen it knows exactly what I'm talking about right now.
All right, just one final capper from Devil Wears Prada. I think that movie should have started with Vogue. And then during her transformation montage, they should have played the Katie Tunstall song, Suddenly I See. I think that is one of the...
I think you need to watch the pilot for Ugly Betty, because I think you'd be really happy with the like really blunt choices made in that episode.
Maybe I will. If it's available somewhere, I'll check her out.
I do believe it's on Hulu. I'm going to put that out there. But I'm not going to stop talking to you about Hulu.
What we're going to lead into, and this is going to be the last thing, is that like I think of the last 10, well, it's not 10 years now, right? Because Devil Wears Prada was it's still within the 10-year span, right? No, when did Devil Wears Prada come out? 2006?
Yeah, no, it's not 10. It's more than 10 years, man.
All right, so greatest sound design fail of the year 2006.
I don't think you and I had the opportunity to see it together.
No, we did. I didn't see it in theaters, to be completely honest with you. I caught it on cable when I was outside the country. And I'm like, oh, this movie's freaking awesome.
No, you know
And
what the big Meryl Streep Stanley Tucci movie was when we first got together was Julie and Julia.
I've never seen it.
Oh, oh my God. Oh my
In
God, Devin.
fact,
Oh
in
my God.
fact, the only question that I got wrong in my Who Wants to Be a Millionaire audition was about Julie and Julia. I went 9 for 10 answering questions about a bunch of stuff I hadn't seen. Like I got a Zoolander question correct, like because I hadn't seen Zoolander at the time. I went 9 for 10, and the 10th question was, "What does Julie leave at Julia's thing in the museum at the end of the movie?"
Oh my
And
God,
I'm
Devin.
like, I have no idea.
That means that the two times that Millionaire got you, it was not on like obscure anything, but on like pretty big box office hits.
You know what though? But I'm gonna say this about fucking Jack Reacher: they never say in the movie that he is an ex-Army Ranger. So
Do they
that's
really
that's
never in the
not
movie?
movie trivia.
See, it's a little blurry for me because I read the books too, so like I don't know what's in the movie and what's
I
not
think that's
at this
just
point.
is that the Bible of Ohio? Because everyone I know from Ohio reads the Jack Reacher books. I know no one else who's actually read a Jack Reacher book.
Oh my God,
Of
dude,
course,
they
I don't know
are
anyone else
some of the best
not from
trash out there.
Ohio. That could be an issue.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody you know is from Ohio and everybody you know reads Jack Reacher. Maybe it's you, Devin.
I mean, if everybody feels like they're an asshole, maybe you're the asshole. Thanks, Mom, Season 1, Episode 4. I've recently discovered Mom, and I was
Hey.
quite disappointed because I thought that that's what showed from like 8:30 to 10 on Saturday mornings on FXX,
Yeah.
and it is, but they do not go in any sort of order at all. Because like I saw the first 3 episodes of Mom. Well, I'd seen the pilot before, so I saw 2, 3, and 4 yesterday morning, and I figured, oh, next Saturday I'll snuggle up again to watch Anna Faris and Allison Janney,
Yeah.
in 5, 6, and 7. Nope, jumping all the way to the 67th episode of the
Oops.
show.
Is it because it
Next
plays throughout the
Saturday.
week?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So it does play throughout the week, but they're starting it from the pilot this week and then running through the first season, and then next week based upon the schedule on cable. So I don't know if it's true, like they just might have copy pasted. They're
Yeah.
going to run through the first season again. So it also feels to me that like maybe FXX just acquired Mom for syndication,
Yeah.
and that's why they're trying to build an audience this way.
Yeah, I don't know what position FXX is in anymore because when they first started, they were all about taking like FX's like edgier shows. So they got like The League and a couple of other ones, but I don't know, man. I don't know what kind of position they're in anymore. For like, I don't know if they're the ones that still have Archer. For a while, they
Yeah,
were
they
the
do
only
still have Archer. That's coming back April 25th, and I'm
and
so excited.
they were the ones that had all of the Simpsons stuff, right? Weren't
Yeah,
they the
so
ones
that- so
they started off with like a whole Simpsons marathon?
FXX is still pretty much the Simpsons network.
Okay, yeah,
There's like on every day except for Wednesdays and Saturdays, you can watch a good 4-hour chunk of The Simpsons.
awesome.
And that's cool, right? I mean, I don't do it as much as I thought I would. It's just because I grew out of The Simpsons, which is an interesting thing about The Simpsons. When would you say the best season of The Simpsons was?
8 to 10, somewhere in that.
And that's exactly where I would stand, is 8 to 10. But I think it's because of our age. I think like that's when it hit and that's when it was relevant to us. But I feel like not a generation, but like maybe a high school, like 4-year difference.
Yeah,
Those
yeah,
people would say that their favorite seasons of The Simpsons are like 11 to 13.
Yeah. Yeah, well, somebody better than me is going to have to look at that show someday and actually break down the like all the different shows The Simpsons actually
Oh,
has,
season
has
4 is
been.
without a doubt the best season of The Simpsons, though.
Well, it's
That's
a very
been proven
different
by
show.
science. It's 100%.
It's a very different show than anything that you watch now, right? So, like, in a weird way, it's almost comparing apples to oranges at this point. Like, there's no way to compare season, what are we on, 24, 25?
28?
Oh, God,
Maybe
yeah, there's no way
29, like-
I mean, you're literally talking about 20 years later, no show could be the same. You know what I mean? It's the
Right,
same way that people talk about SNL. We should start talking about The Simpsons in that way, where like, okay, this era of it is very different than that era. I mean, it's the same way we talk about comic books. We're gonna have to look at the golden age of Simpsons versus the silver age versus the.
well, the crazy thing about The Simpsons, though, in relationship to what you just mentioned, in comparing it to something like Saturday Night Live, is the fact that it has been the same 6 billionaires doing the voices of The Simpsons for all of those years. What's going to finally kill The Simpsons is one of those 6 people dying. Because once you can't have Dan Castanella doing Homer, or you don't have Trace McNeil doing Marge, like that's the thing that's going to kill that show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's sad to say that, and I don't want to think of it, but I just can't think of any way that The Simpsons would be stopped without an unfortunate event like that occurring.
Yeah. Yeah, it is an unstoppable beast. It's a weird thing to witness this day and age.
And oh my god, they make so much money for doing that show too. I did the math back in 2011, and they've only gotten paid more per episode since I did the math.
Right. Yeah, man. And when you sit down and actually think about it, it's a hell of a life to make off of just that one show. I mean,
and like, I mean, there are some people who don't do anything else. But then there are other ones who are like, Hank Azaria does other things besides The Simpsons. Think about, like, he was doing The Simpsons and getting paid really good money for it when he was on Mad About You as the dog walker.
Yeah, man. Well, and now he's got another show that's out right now. Or is it canned already?
I don't know. What show is that?
The one where he's the drunk sports announcer that's, like, coming back, like, trying to make a comeback. It was some...
I know
one of the
show.
Yeah, it's some late season release for him. It's and the title of the show is just the title of his character, which is why I can't think of it. It's not anything like catchy or anything like that. But yeah, he's a retired sports announcer that is like an alcoholic, and it's a sitcom-y. It's one of those like trying to be Arrested Development style sitcom, like everybody's kind of weird and shitty in their own way style shows, at least from what I could gather. I don't know. I have a funny feeling it's not on the air anymore. So, but Hank Azaria is still out there trying to do other crap, right? Like,
yeah,
you know,
that's the big part of the discussion is that like he could rest on his laurels, and that's the kind of like person I like, the actor who's like, I just love acting.
Yeah, no, I just love working, dude. Like, I just want to be working. Oh man.
We are getting to mid-season though. Like 2 weeks from now, Alex Inc. will have premiered. Like, a bunch of shows are having their finales right now, and that blows my mind that show finales happen in March now.
Yeah.
And not like show finales at like 13 episodes. Like, American Housewife is coming to the end of its season, and is like, that's crazy. How have 22 episodes of this show already happened? What did we used to do? And let's talk about the fact that the NCAA tournament, March Madness, has no control over the other networks anymore. And that is crazy to me, because it is still new shows everywhere but CBS this week. Hello, Sejohn? Did I lose you? I mentioned basketball. I know you're not a fan.
Oh, sorry. I muted so that I could cough and didn't unmute.
Okay, cool.
In everybody's ears. No, yeah, you mentioned basketball, and it just super upset me. I slammed my coffee cup on the ground and said, no more. Yeah, no, CBS is kind of the only one that gets knocked out of whack for, and to be honest, all we ever talk about is about how that's not really something we watch. So for us, especially,
it's not something you watch. I watch CBS almost religiously. It's because I live with two septuagenarians.
Yeah,
I get that.
I was gonna say, do you watch it free of your parents, or do you watch it because you? Yeah.
I mean, the shows that I watch without my parents are all on NBC. Superstore and AP Bio and the like.
NBC, this is the channel you watch without mom and dad.
You can have that one, NBC. Watch it when your parents go to bed at 4 o'clock.
Hey kids, come watch this without your parents, because you know nobody's watching.
All right, so fuck you. You didn't watch AP Bio yet, and I understand why. You told me why, and it's good. So I'm going to tell you something happened in this past week's AP Bio that made me very happy. It is related to this show, And here's the challenge, kids. We're going to come back next week to the Say Report, and we're going to ask Sejohn if he knows what happened in AP Bio that made Devon Decker very happy.
Is this the Toledo dating one? Dating in Toledo one?
No, not the Dating in Toledo one. That one was excellent.
Was that last week or something?
That was last week.
Here's the thing. The thing about AP Bio around here that is doubly awesome for me is not only am I enjoying it and watching it and all that good stuff, I also get the added benefit of everyone around here being pissed that it's in Toledo and just like giving everybody shit about like why are they making us look so bad? This can't be the way that the world thinks about us. And like people are out there being like boycott this show, and like it's like that's great. 30 people in Toledo boycotting the show isn't going to affect anything, guys. And outside of Toledo, who's going to care?
We talked about how Norwalk, Connecticut was very mad about American Housewife, and there are no Norwalk jokes anymore.
Yeah, I have a funny feeling that a bunch of like rich druggies in Connecticut have a little bit more pull than a handful of not so rich druggies.
Let's talk about the fact that like the boycotts in Toledo, if AP Bio survives, because as much as I love it, the show is still a fucking unbalanced mess that doesn't know what it wants to be. Mm-hmm. That will be incorporated into the show.
Yeah, it's not the kind of show to shy away from.
How do you boycott a school?
Oh man,
they don't even go here. But also, wait, the other thing about people living in Toledo being upset about that, we're from fucking Rhode Island, who has been pushed and prodded by Family Guy to the nth degree.
Oh, even before that.
Yeah.
There's always jokes about Rhode Island in The Simpsons. I've been rewatching The Critic lately, and they make a couple of good ones. My favorite one of all time is now in one of the worst shows of all time. I can't even go back to it, but there's a joke in the old Dilbert cartoon show where Dogbert goes to Congress, and Rhode Island is represented by this tiny little like leprechaun character, and it's phenomenal. It's an amazing moment.
What about Aqua Teen Hunger Force? I told you when we started this, I'm not Irish. I'm from Rhode Island.
Oh my God! Yeah, see, and that's the thing is, I don't mind Rhode Island getting that like little nod when it happens, no matter what it's for.
No matter what it's for, it's like, hey, Rhode Island, people know we exist. We're not just a suburb of New York.
I don't know. I think Detroit handles things pretty classy. Like when weird stuff goes down up there, they build statues to RoboCop. Like that's what they do. So like people react in different ways to shit, man. I don't know.
I think it's because it's the first time the spotlight has ever been shown on Toledo, right? Can you think of anything else that is set in Toledo?
Well, not set in Toledo. It's funny because Toledo always seemed like in the past like this mythical hell that you got sent to when things went bad. Like it was when you knew you hit rock bottom was when you were on a train going to Toledo, right? Like that was the weird that the only way I knew about Toledo was it was like the bad place to be in Looney Tune cartoons or something. Like so it's never had a good reputation in my brain, so I don't know what this is all about where everybody's like so happy or so upset, not happy.
All right. So yeah, something happened in AP Bio, and we're going to see if Sejohn understands why it made me very happy. Now you were going to change gears. Let's get back to that.
Well, hey, you don't thank me yet, Devon.
Oh no!
I was gonna change gears because I mean we've slowly started to creep up on halfway through today's episode, and you seemed to want to dedicate the back half of this episode to something very important to you today.
All right. So first of all, I saw 2 movies on Thursday. March has been the best month for movies for me yet. And I absolutely friggin' love it. I have done double features almost every Thursday.
Nice.
And I've seen stuff on the weekend.
Cool.
So I've been seeing movies and I feel great about it. Until this Thursday, where the first movie I saw was Tomb Raider, which was fucking awesome.
Cool.
And it's a movie that like I was like, I'm gonna see it because I like Alicia Vikander and Walton Goggins. I don't expect to enjoy it. And it surprised the hell out of me. Some people have called it boring, and I can get where you get that, but I was just, it played with my emotions, and it was totally 100% emotionally manipulative. with like the sepia filter
Yeah.
over all the flashbacks to her and her father. That
Yeah.
like I'm like, why am I crying right now? Literally, they just said hi to each other.
Have you played the Crystal Dynamics games? The last couple of Tomb
I
Raiders?
own the first one.
Yeah.
I've never played it though. I got it for
I will
$1 on
s-
sale once.
I will say that like a lot of those like style choices that you're talking about right now come straight out of those games. Like, and you're right. It's campy and like and almost unfair in the ways that it's like totally trying to manipulate you. But for me, in the games at least, because I haven't seen the movie yet, so put that out there. But it is so purposeful, like, and it's so obvious that it doesn't feel manipulative. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's almost satirical or like parody in some weird way.
Yeah, no, and that's
Um,
and that's the thing. Is like I'm not upset that they use tropes like that to
yeah.
make me feel emotion. It's just that like in the conscious part of my brain, I can be like, this is so fucking manipulative, but then in my animal brain, it's like it doesn't fucking matter. It's sad. Like
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
You're crying right now.
Right. And in a weird way, like that's kind of how you have to handle a story like that, right? It's why a lot of these other video game movies have not worked for me is they try so hard to lay a groundwork for a serious film that like that I don't know, like I all I can think of is not American Assassin. What am I thinking of?
Assassin's Creed,
Assassin's
which I was
Creed.
just going to say is, as we were heading out to see Tomb Raider, I said to Dale, I'm like, are you excited about this? And she's like, yeah, I mean, like, I like Alicia Vikander, and it should be like a fun time to the movies. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty much just hoping it's better than Assassin's Creed. And I liked Assassin's Creed. And Dale
Yeah.
goes, yeah, but we're the only two people who did. So, yeah, that's a low bar for it to clear.
Right.
And it hurdles over it the way that Lara Croft would. Like it's a very fun movie. So
Nice.
so I go see that movie, and that arguably of the two that I saw on Thursday, that was the one that I was less enthused of. Then the next one we were going to go see was Love, Simon, which I don't know if you've seen the marketing for it. It's first of all, it's got a crazy good like cast. Like not the main guy. I mean, it's Nick Robinson. We were introduced to him in Jurassic World. He was the older brother who
Yeah.
like was fucking terrible in every
Yeah.
situation in that
Yeah,
movie.
he was kind of a douche in every situation. At some point, I realized that they wanted us to be rooting for him, and I was confused at that point.
Which now that I say that, it's going to connect to something even better because it might just be a Nick Robinson problem, but we'll get there. But like it's got Jennifer Garner, it's got Josh Duhamel,
Yeah,
it's got
man,
Tony
Josh
Hale, it's got all of these like good adult actors, and
Well,
then
and behind the camera, it's Greg Berlanti who's responsible for the Arrowverse stuff right now, and
and the
like,
Mysteries of Laura. I like the Mysteries
yeah,
of Laura.
nice. Yeah, but yeah, so it's got a pedigree. I mean, like for sure.
Right. But the marketing makes it look like one type of movie, and it is not that. Straight down to the fact that I got an email telling me to go see this year's best rom-com, and I'm like, it's not even a fucking rom-com. What are you talking about? So, spoilers, not for the film yet, just for me, I fucking hated Love, Simon. I fucking
Alright.
hated Love, Simon. And not only did I hate it, right? Because it's very rare for me not to like a movie. And it's even further for me to be like, bold, stand up, look you in the fucking eye and say, I fucking hate this movie. This is a film that, like 15 minutes into the movie, when it was made pretty obvious how dense it was going to be about its subject matter, two people got up and left the theater. And as the movie continued, I said out loud, those two had the right idea. Like, they got out before this movie got even worse. I left with a stomach ache. Like, I almost feel like I gave myself an ulcer watching Love, Simon.
Well, you're gonna have to start talking about why you don't like
Oh,
this
no, I'm
movie
going to get there, but I
because-
need you to know that I tasted blood biting down to not just scream up at the screen. Do you know anything about Love, Simon? Before we go further, do you know what it's about?
I mean, it's a gay teen romance movie, right? Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that'd be great if it were a gay teen romance movie.
Okay.
Because it's not that.
I mean,
There are
that's
so
okay.
many choices that they could have made that would have made it a better film. Really, what it is that Simon has a really good life, but he has this one secret, and that is that he is gay. And he doesn't know how to tell people that he's gay. That's fine. People go through that all the time. It's a relatable subject matter, right? And you put it
Hmm.
in high school where nobody is really sure of what they are. It should work, right? And the
Right.
trailers make it look like it works in fucking aces. Like this is going to be a good film. But then you get to the opening narration of the film where he's like, I have a good life. I love my family. I have a sister that I actually like. Not that I would ever tell her that. And that's where Love Simon lost to Devon Decker. Because I'm supposed to care about this guy, right? Now, granted, I understand that I am special. And not in like a fucking snowflake way. I understand that the relationship that I have with my sister, that we are actually friends and that we get along and like each other as people, that's rare. It's rare for siblings to have that sort of relationship. But for this guy to be like, yeah, I like my sister, but I'm never going to fucking tell her that, he immediately alienated himself from me as a character. Does that make sense?
I mean, yeah, it's also a super tropey thing to be like to have that the older sibling because she's younger, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean to have the older sibling that's too cool to for his younger kids when he's in high school and stuff like that. I mean, I I feel like we're kind of misrepresenting this here because the two of us both weren't that in high school. Like as much as I gave my brother crap, I think that there was never a time when I didn't make it clear that I loved him, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I think that that's also, but I do think that that is also like honestly, what it might be is it might be just one of those tropes that doesn't have a grounding in reality. And god damn me if I could ever figure out how these tropes come into existence because they are in everything. But every Disney show you watch, there's a cool older sibling that wants nothing to do with the younger brother, right? Every stupid R-rated comedy about teens in high school, there's a younger brother that is somehow completely like disconnected from the older characters. I mean, I'm thinking of like even in teeny bopper films with uh Bratz or what's the one all about the witch in the 90s?
The
Um
what? Teen
there's a the
Witch?
Teen Witch. Yeah, Teen Witch. Yeah. Teen Witch, right? There like there's the trope of the younger brother. Or John Hughes films always had the trope of the little brother that was like super shitty. So I mean like that's just movies.
Right, right. I understand that, but I guess what I don't like is that this is supposed to be his inner monologue, right? Like his introduction to me. So why are you gonna be cool in your fucking introduction? Like it'd be fine if like he acted like he was too cool for fucking school with his sister, but it's like, but I do love her. It's like, why do you need the fucking snark in your opening monologue?
Oh, Devin, I got bad news for you, bro. I think you might be too old for these types of movies
Dude,
now
and that
because
hurts. But
this is
like,
the
but
that's
you
the
know
kind
what?
of shit that plays with kids that are 13 or 14 right now.
Okay, so
Like
that's the
like you're
thing.
talking about the YouTube generation, man, and being cynical and shitty is like
Yeah, dude,
their
like let's
thing.
talk about I finally caught up on some Milo Murphy's Law. And it's
Hmm.
like, I like this show, but it's not as good as Phineas and Ferb. And the big difference between those two shows is that Milo Murphy's Law is just mean sometimes.
Oh,
In a
it's
way
not.
that Phineas and Ferb was always positive.
Yeah, it's not. Milo's Murphy's Law is not the next step from Phineas and Ferb. It's the same people, but it's not like don't go into it because you liked Phineas and Ferb. It's a very different show
Right. And
for
that's
sure.
and that's not why. Like I'm like I like these guys. I like that it's Weird
Hmm.
Al. Those are the reasons why I watched it. But I'm like, but this show's like there's something off about it. And the thing is that why do they got to be so mean to each other? But you're right. I guess that's what fucking tracks now is
Yeah.
being mean to each other. And that just bothers me. I mean cuz like I say on this show we try to be positive and we try to spread that good message. And I don't know, it just gets to me.
And I think and I think we're in the next step of that. Like, I think that the being mean to each other thing was definitely something really big in like that started in the late 2000s, and we're talking about high school here. So by that point, you and I were out of it. So that being mean to each other thing, like, didn't really come to us because we were already starting to, we were in our 20s already. So we were formed humans. So that wasn't something that ever like came to us because that wasn't part of our pop culture.
I'm not going to
Late
be rude.
2000s.
I'm going to be rude here, but it's not intentional. there were some people we were in college with who were not fully formed who totally embraced that be mean to each other thing.
Yeah, yeah, they did, and I mean, like, and it starts with things like The Office being like a prime example of something that was like really popular around us. And there's a reason that I didn't get into The Office, and not that I like think that it was a bad show or anything. It just wasn't for me because it was that style of mean comedy. And we've taken the next step now, and it's kind of branched off in two different directions. The first direction is the comedy that completely rejects that, and that's how you end up with shows leading to the shows like Brooklyn that we love, right? But then the other extension of that is the mean comedy with a hidden heart, and that's where you end up with shows like AP Bio, right? Like that's the other direction for it. And so like there's this thing that there's two types of comedy out there right now, and I'm not sure if I enjoy one of them as much as I enjoy the other. And I haven't seen Love, Simon, and now I'm really curious to see if this attitude of just like mean but with the hidden heart, which is made clear by him being like, I love my sister, I just wouldn't tell her, right? Like I wonder if that's what it's trying to land is in that. And considering how you feel about what a mess AP Bio is because it doesn't know where it lands, like I wonder if some of that transfers over to this movie, just not knowing what it wants to be for you because you want it to be something else.
All right, well, the only reason that I ever give shit to AP Bio, I absolutely love that show because I don't feel like it's mean. And I feel, and if you've seen the Dating in Toledo episode, there is a character in that one who is actually mean. And he, who is supposed to be the biggest dick in that world, rejects her because he has that hidden heart that you talked about. But I think the show was smart to show that this guy actually cares right from minute one.
Yeah,
like there's never.
Oh, they're
been
doing it better. Yeah,
yeah. But the issue that I think that show has is, do we want to focus on him and his relationship with the class? Do we want to focus on him and his relationship with the school? Like no story has felt like a contiguous effort to be one thing. Like some episodes he's trying to get his revenge on Miles, which is funny and fun, and then like he will go unmentioned for 2 episodes. And I feel like a real big issue with that is that they're showing it out of order.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be rude to you, but you said that Niecy Nash is supposed to play a bigger role. She showed up for 1 episode, and I don't know where you read that. I don't know if it's true, because I don't see her coming back based on anything that we've seen. But again,
she was supposed to be a main character, but also that was when
that
they
episode
had
was
released
that episode was aired way out of order. The episode with her, so now they might be burning out the episodes before she was introduced, and then she's just going to suddenly get slammed back into the show.
Well, maybe that's what it was maybe she was such a big hit at the back end because they were pushing her as a main character on the show as like the third lead of that show back before it came out. Like to the point where if you read the reviews that they released of the first 3 episodes, everybody was talking about can't wait for more of that Niecy Nash story. And so the fact that it hasn't come back is actually kind of wriggling in the back of my mind. Is I'm just like, I want to know more about that though, because it was the only real like plot line you established like that could continue on from episode to episode.
Yes,
anyway,
that's okay. So back to Love, Simon, though.
So yeah, but what you're pointing out though is you're talking about people doing it well. So I mean, like maybe what it is just a matter of this movie just not being able to find that balance.
but I gotta tell you, that was just a moment that fucking alienated me from the film, and I tried to not let it bother me. Like, because let me tell you, that's not the reason I didn't like Love, Simon. I should have said Love, because then I would have said Love twice. It's not the reason I didn't love Simon. It goes further than that. First of all, he then has his first email. So the whole thing is that this high school is sort of like, I don't know, a fucking prison? I don't know how to describe it. They have a website, and I gotta imagine that these websites are real. Otherwise, they're the most misleading trope in any form of fucking fiction. And that's like related to other stuff where people can post like shitty things about other people in the school.
Yes, those are real. That's a huge problem on campuses right now. That they've got these things where people can go and rate each other, or they can do. I'm trying to remember what the name of the one was. Clearly, we are not in this group that this is aimed towards because we don't know the names of any of these apps. But there was one that came out a few years ago on the campus that I was working at. No, meow meow beans though. We're gonna call it that. And people could go on meow meow beans and they could purr at each other or they could scratch at each other, right? Like that was like the whole like idea of meow meow beans is they could is that they could get on it and they could basically put up like a picture of somebody in their class and just be like, how y'all feel about this person? And then like 90 people would be like, we think they ugly, kick them out of school for being so ugly. And like it was really problematic, like the way that these things work. And yes, they are real. They are all over the
Okay,
place.
so that's good to know. So first of all, Simon attends Creek High School, and the website for that is creeksecrets.com. Now Simon, and like this is the only redeeming thing about this character in the whole thing, never goes on creeksecrets.com. He is always told about them by his best friend since 3 years old, Leah, where she calls him like, "Oh my fucking god, you got to go on Creek Secrets. You will not believe what they're saying." And it's like, "Oh, okay. So there's two strikes against your movie." Why would he be friends with someone like that? I guess he's not a good person. Whatever. I'm getting off track. So she calls him and says, "Did you see the post about the closeted gay kid at school?" And it's this kid like, "I'm gay and I don't know how to share it and I feel like I'm lost." But attached to that is a Gmail account. So it's this whole anonymous post about feeling closeted at school and not knowing how to deal with it, but it has a Gmail. So like a little bit of disconnect, right?
Wait, yeah. Like, why would they do that? That's weird.
But I mean, it's not like one of those Gmails that's like Ramon Rodriguez 17 at gmail.com, and they're like, "Oh, it's the captain of the soccer team, Ramon Rodriguez, jersey number 17." It's bluegreen113 at gmail.com.
But why would they attach any type of
Why would you
like,
have any sort of thing connected to it, right?
attached to it, right?
Okay, so like, and that's not even a problem that I have with the film, right? But it's just like plot convenience.
Yeah,
to
that's
this thing.
too convenient.
And
yeah.
like, also, this is the thing that fucking bothers me though. But again, just from a logistic point, Blue Green 113 is spelt BLUGREEN 113. But it's signed Blue BLUE.
Oh, that's upsetting. I was gonna say it sounds like that dude vapes. That's what that sounds
Yep.
like. Blue Green 113. That's definitely some stoner somewhere. That's like, oh man, might as well have been like Blue Green 420.
Yeah. So Simon makes a Gmail account from my window 1, which I can't believe that from my window 1 at gmail.com was not taken by somebody.
Yeah, right. That sounds like some. You know what that sounds like? Is some author of ebooks on Amazon somewhere that's writing like Raptor love stories is definitely from my window.
So he gets that, and he sends an email to this person's Gmail. That is the opening monologue. So again, I'm reminded that he likes his sister, but he would never admit it to her face. Like, thanks again, movie. I had almost gotten past that. And then he signs it Jacques, because he has a picture of himself in Paris next to his computer. So he begins this relationship, this electronic relationship with Blue, sharing the fact that, you know, they're both closeted and they don't want to come out. And part of that is like fear because they don't know how people will respond. But also it's like, I'm still in high school and I don't want to change everything about who I was in my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm about to be in college, and then I can reinvent myself and actually be who I want to be. Which would be completely fine, except that it's then revealed that Simon has known he's a homosexual since middle school. So... And again, yeah, I know that people make their own decisions, and it's your journey and all that. Like, I'm not trying to ascribe my own things to it. It's just one of those things where it's like, your narrative doesn't measure up against itself.
Yeah, but I do know that it is a common story for people in that situation. So like, hold on to that for much longer than even that, man. I mean, like the fact that he knew for that long doesn't mean that he'd ever be
comfortable with it. That's true. It's just I don't know. It's just things like that. But then where the film really starts to lose me is that these two people begin to develop feelings for each other. And all right, that's fine, right? Because feelings develop where they develop, but it's also sort of this weird thing where it's like, we're the only two gay kids in school. I guess we should like each other. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't really love the optics of something like that.
Yeah.
Like that starts to
Yeah.
bother me.
What was the Real O'Neal's there that didn't last for too long. They got a season and two
They got
seasons,
two. They got two seasons.
but they've actually got a really fantastic episode about exactly that. Is that another kid at his school comes out and there's everybody is just like, you two should date, and he's just like, I don't really know if that's what we should do.
Well, see,
It's
it'd be one thing about these two guys falling for each other, but then, like, so another part of Love, Simon is he's on a fucking library computer at the school sending correspondence to this person, and he forgets to log out of Gmail. So the kid who's like kind of been annoying, like not really a bully, just like one of those always on theater kids, right? Which we know too many of.
too many of. Yes, yes.
He logs into it and he takes screenshots of it, and he uses them to blackmail Simon into getting one of his female friends to like him. So, like, there's this whole blackmail plot in the middle of the movie, and I'm like, first of all, this is disgusting, but, like, what you didn't need this, right? The kid, like, it's enough conflict, person versus self, with the whole, like, I don't know how to be myself, and I don't know if I want to share it, before you complicate matters more by bringing in a legitimate fucking villain. I don't know. And then that whole thing, right? That kid, like it actually works. Like he starts to develop it, but the character Simon, he has to lie to his friends and try to keep them apart, so that like this kid won't blackmail him with it. It's so fucking complicated. And it's just like, why? Why are you making yourself so complicated, movie? It's not entertaining. It's just like, this is stupid. You're just upsetting me with all of these fucking roadblocks you're making this kid put up that do not feel like how any real person would act.
Yeah, and part of it feels like it's some of that problems that adaptations have, where like people. One of the things that people don't understand about taking a book to film is that you gotta cut stuff out, and so many people do nothing but bitch about how book versions are better because they contain these characters and these plot lines that just didn't make it into the film version. And at the end of the day, it's because you sit back and you're just like, well, yeah, because that film version of that thing is already 2 hours. If they put in everything you wanted, it would have been a 6-hour thing. Look at Lord of the Rings.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
So like, there's this thing though with book adaptations still to this day where people are so adamant that like certain aspects get into them, and it sounds to me like what this is a bunch of stuff that should have been left in the book, like interesting stuff when you're reading a book and you're going at your own pace and you're taking it in your own speed and your own time, not something you want in a freaking hour-and-a-half long movie.
Exactly. And it's stuff that like they introduce it, but I'm like, that can't be fully realized. Like there has to be deeper stuff to this,
right?
Like,
yeah, I mean, what it honestly sounds like is you keep talking about this, and I was just like, man, why wasn't this just like a Netflix show? Like, why not just make it a Netflix, like a 10-episode Netflix show, so that you could actually flesh out like have an entire episode dedicated to the blackmail plot, have an entire and then a beginning, middle, and end to that isn't gonna.
Well, the unfortunate thing is the blackmail plot is important because this guy, because he is an always on theater kid, right? And you know, the unfortunate thing is that, like, he is vilified by that blackmail and stuff, and nobody likes him. Like, he's annoying. But he's the only kid in the school who, like, has confidence in who he is. So, like, it really kind of bothers me, and maybe it's because I am a confident individual or, like, or something like that. But it bothers me that, like, that's the person that they vilify. Yeah. The person who's sure of themselves in high school. When it's
but except for the giant insecurity of having to blackmail somebody in order to get a date.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. You're not wrong about that. But he goes and he ends up at homecoming. He preempts the singing of the Pledge of Allegiance to ask that girl out. And she says no to him. And so he is made a fool on the Creek Secrets website. So then, even though Simon did everything to help him, he reveals that Simon is gay. So, like, that's the reason that it gets out. So you can't lose the blackmail thing. It can't be like a one-episode thing. But I was kind of hoping that it was going to be, like, when they introduce it, he goes over to the kid's house and he's like, we got to, like, just fix a little bit of you. Like, you need to, like, polish off some of your edges so that she might actually like you. Like, you're just a little bit too abrasive. And girls don't want to read your shirt. They want to have a conversation with you. Because, like, he wears screen-printed tees. And that's terrible, apparently, to Simon. And, like, to this kid's effort, he says, no, I want her to like me for me. If we got to change me, then we're not even going to do this. And then they work together, and she actually starts to like him for him. So you're thinking, like, this is good. And Simon's learning something about being confident in who you are. And you're, like, thinking that maybe this is what this is going to be. Through his friendships and the people that he deals with during the school year, he's going to get the confidence to live his truth. Nope.
No, he just learns that nope, yep, everybody's terrible and
everybody's terrible, and he forces me to come out, and then that. And I would be with you on the whole thing of that, like, just because we're gay we shouldn't date thing. But there is one openly character in the movie, in the school. His name is Ethan. I have some problems with that character too, because he seems more transgendered than actually homosexual, the way that he is portrayed on screen.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And again, I don't know, and I understand that there is a myriad of different ways that people can be homosexual and that they can express their homosexuality. I have no problem with that. But I do have a problem with, like, a film boiling it down to, like, well, they need to know that he's gay. So here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah. Gay does not equal, like, femme presenting, right? Like, it's weird.
But when Simon is revealed as gay on the Creek Secrets website, the two chucklehead bullies who have been in the thing, like fucking Bulk and Skull for all intents and purposes, dress up like Ethan and Simon and mock at making love in the middle of the cafeteria. Like, that's a real thing that happens. And
Jesus.
Honestly, up until this point in the film, I figured one of the bullies was the guy on the other end of the emails. Because I'm like, that's good. He's classic self-loathing. And then, like, Simon also learns the lesson at the end that, you know, just because someone's good on paper doesn't mean they're good in real life.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of, like, really good things could come from this moment. But so he goes to, like, stand up for himself to those two chuckleheads, right? And that's another one of those moments where I'm like, good for you, right? Like, you're not going to hide in this. You're going to own it. It sucks that you didn't get to come out on your own terms, but now you're going to be confident. And he goes to say something, and then a teacher comes in, and she takes that moment away from him. And I'm like, so what's the point of that? What was the point? And she acts super unprofessional about it. And then Simon and Ethan wind up having to talk to the principal so that these two chuckleheads can apologize. And the principal is like, it doesn't matter that Ethan and Simon are boyfriends. And they're like, yeah, except we're not. We're not dating. And he's like, fine, don't put a label on it. And they're like, nope, we're not romantically involved at all. So then you have this principal, and it's Tony Hale, who is just as fucking dense about it as anybody else. So, like, and that's saying that, like, just because two people are gay doesn't mean that they have to date. But everything leading up to that is that because this guy found the only other gay kid in school, they care about each other like this. Mm-hmm. So it's like the movie wants its cake and to eat it too.
Yeah.
It's like what are you doing? And again, and it's one of these things where, like, I almost want to read the book because I have to imagine the book handles it better. Even though the book's actual title of Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda makes no sense to me at all.
There's a reason they changed that.
Yeah. But, like, so it's like this weird moment, and then, you know, he does this whole thing and he owns it on Creek Secrets. And the guy, because he doesn't want it to be revealed that he's the other person, cuts off communications with Simon. So he goes and he sits down on the Ferris wheel because they mention Ferris wheels. And he's like, I'm going to ride the Ferris wheel all night. Please come join me for a ride so we can finally know each other. And he rides the whole night. And then it's the last ride and the person is revealed. Now, another kind of cool thing about this movie, and I'm talking from a storytelling perspective, is that he, based on the things that are said in the emails, he gets an idea of who the person might be. And he tries to cozy up to them to get to know them in real life as well. So the first person he thinks it is, he finds them making out with a girl about to get busy. So he's like, oh, I guess it's not him. And then he thinks it's the dude who works at the Waffle House. But then he asks him to basically do the same thing that he was doing for the Always On Theater kid without the blackmail twist.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, oh, I guess he's into chicks too. And then the last one, once Blue stops talking to him, he goes straight up to him and he's like, is it you? Is it you? And he's like, no, I'm sorry, it's not me. Would you like to talk? Because you seem like you've been having a hard couple of days. And he's like, no, and he just storms off, right?
Yeah.
So there are 3 potential people who he thinks it is. So then it's the final, no one has come, it's the last ride, and Martin, that's the Always On Theater kid, comes out and goes and says it's me. I'm the one who's been writing them. And he's like, no, it's not you. And he's like, no, it's not, but like, I don't want you to be embarrassed. Let's ride the friggin' Ferris wheel together. And you're like, oh, okay. Potential, like, love doesn't always work out. Sometimes people are awful. Storyline, and maybe these two can heal, right? Maybe they can learn from each other. Like the first act sort of made it look like, right? Because we're still also in fucking high school.
Right.
Right? Like, and you make fucking mistakes when you're in high school. But then the guy is revealed. And Sejohn, do you want to know who it is?
Sure.
All right. Spoilers for Love, Simon. If you've been listening this long and you're still going to see it, mazel, okay? It's the first guy he thought it was. So it's a double misdirect.
That's not fair. That's cheating. That's just cheating. You can't do that. You can't you can't show us the murder mystery suspect and give him an alibi in the first 20 minutes.
You can't show us the alibi.
Yeah. You can't give us that and then that's just not fair because that's not playing fair.
Right. And it's him, and it's like, oh, yay, and they kiss on the Ferris wheel, and everything works out, right? Life is good. The 17-year-old and his 17-year-old boyfriend are going to be together forever. Probably not, but that's what the movie would like you to believe.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And it's just like, but the optics of this film and the way that they represent homosexuality and everything just is like, are you trying to have a message in this film? Like, what are you trying to do?
So I will say to that point, one of the big things about Greg Berlanti, like the director behind this one, is he's been called out a lot for that sort of stuff, and not just him, but the entire creative team that he normally works with Berlanti Productions and so the Arrowverse stuff and all that, right? Because ham-fisted, I think, is the best way to put the way that he handles messages, which is pretty evident in things like there's a Black Lives Matter episode of Arrow, and there's some other storyline elements of characters being gay in the Arrowverse that are a little blunt. Yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, subtlety is just not what he's known for with that stuff, and that is a huge problem that he gets called out for. Is the idea that things are so. What's weird is it's never the stereotypes. It's never it's weird to rank stereotypes, but it's never the worst stereotypes. It's just always that one where you're just like, you're clearly trying, but you're still just not getting it. Like it's always that feeling with that sort of stuff with that group. So it sounds a lot like that's kind of what's coming into this. As one aspect of all of this is that it's just like
you haven't seen it, you're just hearing my account of it.
Yeah, but it definitely sounds like it's just more of that problem of just like clearly it's trying to do something and it's just not quite getting it, and that's hard to watch. And then you add to that, on top of that, the fact that it just sounds like it's a mess all over the place from a film perspective, from a filmmaking perspective. That's upsetting as well. I would, though, be really curious to hear what somebody that is 16 right now feels like about this movie. Anybody, any 16-year-old of any make, it not even I wonder what a gay kid thinks of this. I just wonder what a kid thinks of this right now.
Well, I'm going to say
plenty
that
of movies
those two people that left the theater probably 18. Closer to it than I am.
Yeah. And I mean more like the 14-year-old, because 18-year-old me did not want a movie telling me who I was.
Right.
14-year-old me loved that I was on screen. You know what I mean?
I get you.
It only took 4 years for me to get too cool for school. So I'd be really curious to know what a 14 to 16-year-old thinks about this movie, because it's not quite representing them yet. It's going to be representing them soon. So that's exciting versus the 18-year-old who feels like, oh, they're trying to just cater to me and I'm not going to fall for that shit. I'm too punk rock to be fed this bullshit.
So what I'm going to say, based on what you just said about liking to see yourself on theater, first of all, I am citing Jeff Hibbert right now. I have no other proof. I tried to find proof with Sejohn beforehand that backed up something that he said, but this is based on purely what he knows, based upon box office numbers, based on what he does for a living. And that is that Love, Simon is absolutely killing at the box office in the Northeast.
Well, I have heard the same from other sources. Unfortunately, when we looked it up, we're being like really scientific about this in a way that we normally aren't. When we looked it up, it's only probably going to hit this weekend something in the $5 million range, which is not even a third of its budget. It's just under a third of its budget. So I don't know if I would call that killing it. That being said, I don't know if anybody ever expected it to like
To
do
be that type of thing,
better
exactly.
than that. Yeah,
Right.
so I think it's doing better than it was actually expected to do. We have a lot of people that talk about this stuff and make these decisions that are not that are even worse than us when it comes to connecting with the audience for this film. Like we're talking about a bunch of old white dudes sitting around like crunching numbers and trying to figure out what movies are supposed to make and what they will make. And I think that it was underestimated because of simple shit like the fact that it's a gay love story. A lot of people out there were like, "Oh, we'll be lucky if we make 2 million on it in the opening weekend," or the fact that it was a what it sounds like is they didn't know how to market it, so they were just like teen rom-com, and those don't ever do well either, right? Like,
I
what's the
loved
last
the Duff though. The Duff was great, and the
Yeah,
Duff
but
was
how
like
well
another
did the
one of
Duff do?
those that the Duff did not do great. Let's be
Exactly.
completely honest.
Exactly. Like those teen rom-coms just don't work nowadays. PG-13, but like not pushed to your mom, like then it's not going to go anywhere.
John Tucker Must Die, I think, was the last really good one. If I
and
had
that
to put
was
an
pushing
argument
its
out there.
PG-13. Actually,
Yeah.
was John Tucker R?
It might be an R. Like I was about to say, and that might actually be rated R.
Yeah, because like that is pushing, and that's not this right. Like there's an edge to that.
That
Correct me
is
if I'm
not
wrong.
Love, Simon
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
You're right, but like that's the last one where I think of where like this kind of stuff was employed. Like it's like similar sort of blueprint. But what I was gonna say is that like so based on what we've seen and what you and what you just said, like Love, Simon is killing it in the Northeast. It has outsold Tomb Raider almost every show that they have been up against each other. But what bothers me about this film, right? Because I talk about the optics and I talk about the way that it portrays it, is not the people where in like the Northeast or in like California who might see this movie and see themselves on screen. I'm kind of worried about the flyover state kids who might see a movie like this and misinterpret what its message is trying to be. Does that make sense?
No, no.
Like
I mean, yeah, no. This movie's playing with fire, like right now, and I think that so many people are just happy that a movie like this exists that they haven't hit the point of really kind of making sure that it's doing what it should be doing. And so, like, give it a month. In a month, we'll be having these conversations of people being like, was this the right movie to be coming out right now? Right now, there's too many people just happy that a kind of movie like this exists, as they should be. Like, I'm not faulting them.
Yeah,
for,
I don't want
for...
to do it, but that's the thing is that like it should be exciting that a movie like this exists, but then you watch it and the content is just it's like on paper this is great, but then once you start to see the trees for the forest, you realize that like a lot of the trees are poorly constructed.
Yeah, I mean, like the important thing to remember, and I think this is important for everybody to remember, not just us, but like movies like this that like put a good dent in the door are what lead the way for movies to eventually break the door down. So we will get a good gay teen rom-com that everybody kind of really likes for the rest of their lives within the next like 5 years. I guarantee it. This is just going to be like the one that everybody kind of looks and holds that next one up to and talks about why that one's so much better because Love, Simon didn't do this and Love, Simon didn't do that. Like this movie needed to exist in order for that next one to come along and really blow us away. And that's just how it works with all of these movies all the time, man. I mean, like, it takes a, yeah.
We're pushing time here, but I am going to ask you a question because Will and I had a discussion yesterday about a film that I watched. I'm going to say it was like the 24th time I've seen the film, right?
Okay.
And that film was Chasing Amy, right?
Hey.
And Chasing Amy, watching it for this 24th time, I realized that like a lot of my ideas about sexuality and self were probably heavily influenced by that film.
Mm-hmm.
And also that like it is not unfortunately, but I think I don't think Kevin Smith has ever done better than that film. I think it is his magnum opus. And like they
Yeah.
say in the movie, it is because he finally had something personal to say.
Yeah.
And it shows in that film. But then what I'm like is that, but I don't think that it's like an important film that everybody has to see. And Will agreed. He's like, I don't think it would be on my short list of like LGBT like required viewing.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and it had its moment at the time.
Yeah, ask me that question in 1999, and I would have said differently. I would have said like, no, it should be on everybody's list. Like, but we're 20 years now, or 25 years now removed from that movie, and no, it's not anymore.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
and it's just
it's
like
the
a weird
same.
thing to think of, where it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, this was an important film.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the same thing that people talk about with Joss Whedon and how at the time when Buffy came out, it was really important for that show to exist because it really kind of pushed like feminist hero and all that sort of stuff. But now we look back on it and all we see are all of the problems now that we're still keeping feminism down. You know, it's that idea that progressive movements always end up eating themselves, man, and they have to because the idea of progress is to move forward.
It's to always
So
move forward. You're right.
right.
That's Yo, that was very succinct and beautiful, Sejohn. I'm sorry I stepped on it. Would you like to say it again?
No, no. It's that's it, man. That's it, plain and simple.
And then the last thing I'm going to bring up. Do you watch The Mick?
No, should I?
Yeah, The Mick's fucking great. The
All
Mick
right.
is absolutely great.
I mean, I love her, and I mean,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so.
And let me tell you, Caitlin Olsen, and I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but
Mhm.
without those three guys, like, struggling to be the funniest person in the room, you
Mhm.
see that she was always the funniest person.
She
in
was
the
always
room.
the funniest. Dee was always the
Yeah,
funniest.
like it's like, and watching her in this show and just the levels, and and it's one of those other ones where it's like a mean comedy with hidden heart, but it's
Hmm.
not that hidden. The heart, you can see the heart from moment one, and they are mean to each other and stuff happens. But I'm gonna say it, like this week's episode had Jimmy making a male friend. And he was excited because he has difficulty making male friends. Jimmy is Mick's boyfriend, right? So he's like our age, like he's in his 30s. And he makes his male friend. So then he invites Mick and Jimmy to go out for them to get scorpion bowls with his, and Jimmy assumes, girlfriend. And it turns out that this guy is gay. And Jimmy, like, struggles with it. And I'm like a little bummed, right? Because like I just saw Love, Simon, and I didn't really love how it was represented. And then I watched Chasing Amy, and I'm like, I like this movie and I like the message, but again, some of the representation is fucking just toxic because of what the time was and what comedy was at the time. And then I see this happen in this show, and I'm like, I don't want Jimmy to be some sort of homophobe. Like, I've ascribed a lot to him, and it looked like they wrote him off the show. So the fact that he's even back means a lot to me. And then, like, to do this, I'm just like, this was a problematic week for Devon Decker regarding homosexuality, and that sucked. But then, like, the guy ends up finding him, and he's like, "Can we talk about why you ran out of the restaurant?" And Jimmy tells this story about like being friends with a guy when he was 13 who was a homosexual and like being taken advantage of. Like he thought that they were just friends and that they were doing stuff like that together, and that like friends, they do practice kissing with each other. And like this whole weird story of like, and he's like, so it's not against you, it's just that like I might have some unresolved feelings that I'm not ready to deal with. And I'm like, holy shit, the Mick, did you really be the thing that like hit the grand slam of how to deal with this?
Yeah,
Like
well,
you,
I mean, and
like of all the things that like we're trying, and and it was nice because he ended and he's like, but I know that I'm not gay because I've tried and I've thought about like being with a man, and it's just not something that gets me there. And
yeah.
and I'm like, wow, what an adult way to approach this. And granted, yes, it's an adult doing it, but it was like when he ran out, I'm like, oh my god, really? Like that's what they're gonna do? And then they give him this whole story that like touched me.
They got you, man. They
Like,
got you.
and I'm like, good for the fucking Nick. Thank God
Yeah.
something worked this week.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just sorry.
Awesome.
I just that and like I've rewatched the scene because I'm like, it really is.
It's the next step with this stuff, man, is turning the lens back on the homophobic character, and instead of just letting it end with them being like, maybe I'm not as homophobic as I thought. I could be friends with this dude, and that's usually the end of that trope. Like, look at any fucking sitcom over the last 3 years. I'm pretty sure that I've seen an episode of that in what was the one that Putty did there with David Spade?
Rules of Engagement.
Rules of Engagement.
Yeah,
I think
with
has like
make 7 Up yours. I can't think. Orlando Jones.
Orlando Bloom, different Orlando.
Yeah, I almost said Orlando Bloom, but
yeah,
I made
so
you
like
step
that's
in it.
usually where that lands. The next step is to then turn around and be like, no, we have to discuss why you feel this way. You don't get to be homophobic, but getting better. We need to talk about why you're this way so you can get better. And that's awesome. That's cool to see them tackle that.
And in that show, that like I have been a not so secret fan of The Mix since like minute 1. Though my parents didn't know I watched the show. They were surprised when I had it on when they came home yesterday. And I'm like, what do you mean? This show's great. It's like Charles in Charge, but like funny. Can you imagine if Charles in Charge was funny?
Can you imagine if Scott Baio wasn't creeping everybody out on set?
All right, so I think we've hit a lot this week in today's in today's Say Report. So thank you if you listened through the whole time. If you have problems with me, or if you are actually like someone who is the age group for Love, Simon, and you want to discuss what the film meant to you, please find me on Twitter. I am at Devon D. Decker.
And I am at Siege versus the World, and I am interested to hear what other people are feeling about this. Like I was saying, specifically in that age group, because I do feel like part of this is just this movie is just not for us, and that doesn't forgive it bad filmmaking. That doesn't forgive its like weird, stereotypical nonsense. I'm just curious to know how that plays with other people.
And you know what? In lieu of being mean to each other, I'm going to cite 2 of the greatest philosophers of all time, Bill S. Preston Esquire and Ted Theodore Logan. Be excellent to each other. Love, Devon. P.S. Will, I'm still going to need you to do the outro.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Stephen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.